Good afternoon. All right, I'll start sharing my screen while you're doing that. Tell me when you are recording.
You're good to go.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to talk about kind of how to do some of the things in Northstar, the tasks that you might want to do. And again, I'm going to give you a lot of information. What I want you to take away is more that why you would do these things and that they're easy and they're possible. If you don't remember all the little steps that I tell you, that's okay, because I'll show you where to find the instructions in Northstar. So don't worry about, remembering every single little step. More, I want you to remember the big picture of why you would do things and how they're be beneficial to your program. So we will talk about things such as why you would want to create a learner account and how to do that, why you'd want to do tagging and how to do that. We'll talk about how to do proctoring and, again, how to do it both in person and remotely, and how easy it is, and also why you might want to do that. I'll show you where the instructor-led curriculum is and a little bit about how it's organized. We'll spend more of the next training, we'll spend all of the next training pretty much on looking at how to work with learners. So this will just be an overview of that. And then we'll take a look at all the resources you have available to you in Northstar, so that if you have questions on how to do something, you know where to go. So first of all, we met a couple days ago, and since that time, you've had maybe time to think about it, or maybe not, no time. But what would you say? How would you say if someone asked you for, like, a sentence about Northstar? How would you answer the question, what is Northstar? You can either unmute or you can chat, whatever you're more comfortable with.
Oh, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I would just basically say it is a streamlined way to learn basic instruction for computers, and
Great.
a way to be consistent across the board, and also to familiarize yourself without being, intimidated by the computer.
Yeah, great description. Thank you. Anyone else have another way they describe it to, let's say, a colleague or a friend? All right. So one of the ways I usually talk about it is, I do see something in the chat, so let me go there. Charlotte, what she said. There you go. Same kind of thing, internet-based platform created by Literacy Minnesota, which is a nonprofit that assesses and teaches foundational to mid-level digital skills. Great. So just as a reminder, we did just talk about this, but we have the assessments. Then we have the two types of educational materials, the instructor-led curriculum, which is more like a classroom setting curriculum or one-on-one. And then the self-directed online learning practice lessons, which people mostly do on their own. Tying all that together, we have the learner management system for the learners to follow up on, so they can see what they've done and how they've done, and then reports so that you can see how the learners have done and kind of big picture how your agency is doing. It's available in English and Spanish and compatible with desktops, laptops, and Chromebooks, as well as now we're making it mobile compatible. So the first thing we want to do today is make sure that you can all access your Northstar admin portal. And in order to access it, you should have received an email from Northstar that said, "Welcome to Northstar," and told you the link to access it and how to create a password. That page that they give you, that link, it's handy to bookmark that so you can easily find it. If you're on a computer where you don't want to bookmark something, or if you're using a different computer, you can always log in at our Northstar homepage, which is digitalliteracyassessment.org. If you forget that, if you type in Northstar Digital Literacy, you will find the web page. And so I want to show you what that looks like, I guess. So here is the Northstar homepage. In the black navigation bar, you see on the left side the Northstar logo, and on the far right, you see currently my name in this blue oval if I'm logged in. But if I was not, the oval would be gray and it would say login. And then I would click on it, enter my email and password, and I would be in the system. And so where it will take you is to what we call your landing page. And mine asks a couple of questions that you won't have. Yours will take you right here. So this is what we call the Northstar Admin Portal landing page. And you can see in the blue navigation bar on the top here, several different tabs. And the tab that I'm currently on is the one that has the Northstar logo. And then on mine, it's called Demo. On yours, it should be called something much more interesting than Demo. So I'd like, if you're not already, I'd like you to log in and put in the chat what yours says there instead of Demo. And if you don't know how to log in, or if you're having troubles, this is a great time for us to find all that out. So go ahead, log in, and let me know what yours says. Just to make sure we're all.
I'm sorry, Theresa, I'm just joining, so I missed the instructions.
Sure. So what I want you, so right now we're looking at the Northstar admin portal, and this is what we call the landing page. And on mine, in the blue navigation bar, you can see it has the Northstar logo on the left, and then it says demo on mine. On what I would like you all to do is to log into your Northstar admin portal and tell me, put in the chat what yours says. So yours would say something much more interesting than demo. And I just want to make sure we can all access the admin portal. And if not, we should figure that out today.
Okay, can you tell me how to do that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to go?
So you're going to go to, so you should have received an email from Northstar telling you how to log into your account and how to create a password. And there would have been a link there to get into your system. But if you don't have that email at the moment, you can go to our homepage, which is, I'm going to back up and show you what it looks like here, which is digitalliteracyassessment.org, or if you typed in Northstar Digital Literacy, you would find it. I can put this in the chat. All right. And then you'll see, once you get there, there's a black navigation bar on top with the Northstar logo and name on the left. And on the far right, there's a gray oval that says login, and that's where you'd click on that and enter your email and the password that you created.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I see, okay, it looks like some people have upper coastal, UCP, COG, Edgecombe. Great, okay. Anyone having problems logging in? Charlotte, you're muted. Do you want to unmute, or can you? So on
Yeah,
your screen, yeah,
I'm
okay.
in trouble, but I don't know. I got to the Northstar main page and I'm putting in the college email, but I don't have a password.
Okay, did you get an email from Northstar inviting you to join?
No, I don't see it. It just shows that the staff person in charge was supposed to add me.
Okay, yeah. So, and So, what location are you at?
Wilson Community College.
Okay. Let me quick look and see who that person that can add you is.
It's Linda Ward. She said she added me. I got
Oh,
an email, but I don't have unless I'm not looking in the right place. I have my email to the school.
yeah.
I'm new to them. I'm more or less like a sub for the person who's really doing this. So
Mhm.
I don't know where the password is. As far as the email, I've just typed in the school's email that was assigned to me.
In the email where she said she added you to the Northstar admin portal, is there a link there and does it tell you how to create a password?
Wait a minute.
And Theresa, this is for admin only, correct?
So any one of you that are going to be using Northstar should be able to get in.
Mm.
So whether you're going to be teaching or looking at reports or adding learners.
No, I don't see it.
All right.
On my phone, I don't see it.
Okay. Does anyone else not able to get in? All right, so Charlotte, we will have to see about getting you access.
Okay. 'Cause the last email that she sent, she said, I have added you to the Northstar portal, so you should be able to access it when you are training. But there's nothing else, in that email.
And do you have an email from Northstar?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So I don't know, I'm just trying to think if we could do it while we're on the training, and I don't know if Mary Jane, if you can reach out to her and ask her to resend that, or Charlotte. If not, we can do that. I can have my team do it, but we'll probably be later today.
Okay, that's fine.
I can email too.
Okay, thanks. All right, so it sounds like everyone else was able to get in. And so let me log it back in. Oh, you're not seeing my screen yet, but just a minute. All right. So when we look at this blue navigation bar, so most of you were able to log in and find where it says the name of your organization rather than mine, which says demo. And then the next tab over is the learner tab. And we will talk about that today. Learner tab is where you add new learners, where you can look at how much time they're spending on the practice lessons. But just think, learners tab is all about kind of adding learners and tracking learners. The next tab over is the assessment tab, and this is where you can do proctoring and look at assessment results. So again, when you're thinking of the assessment tab, what does it do? It's all about that giving and looking at assessments. And then reports, we looked at those on Tuesday. These are those kind of big picture reports. We won't spend time going over them today because you probably don't have a lot of information in your but that's where those are. The next tab over is the curriculum tab. This is where you're going to find all the instructor-led curriculum. And we will look at that, kind of do an overview of it today. This info tab, you will see it, but unless you're a Northstar administrator, you wouldn't be able to access it. So if you're not an administrator, if you clicked on it, it would just say you don't have access. But for the Northstar administrators, this is where they would add staff, add or delete staff, and then kind of do some agency-wide. There's some agency-wide things they can do here. And then the resources tab, this is full of information on how to use Northstar and what's in Northstar, you know, how to do the tasks in Northstar. The other thing I want to point out is to the far right, you'll see my name, and on yours, you would see your name. And we're going to look at that too and see how that's useful to us. So the first thing I want to talk about today is how and why you might want to track a subgroup of people or do a sub-report. So the default in Northstar for all reporting is that it would show you everyone at your college. And sometimes you want to see that and sometimes you don't. So in order to run a subgroup, so let's say you want to just look at a particular class, or you're an instructor and you only want to see those people, those learners that you're working with, or maybe, you know, a specific program or location, whatever it might be, you can create whatever tags that you want to enable you to run these subgroups. And then you would tag each learner individually with the appropriate tag. Northstar doesn't make the tags for you, so they're hopefully useful to you because you're making them. And the only thing we don't let you do is make tags around personally identifiable information like social security number, driver's license number, birthday. But otherwise, you can create whatever tags you want. The reason I started out talking about tagging is because it's a good conversation to have for those of you in this program together before you start creating tags, so that you have more uniformity across, you know, everyone that's using Northstar as to what are you going to call certain things and what's the nomenclature going to be. You can always create tags after the fact, and you can always change tags too, but it's just a good kind of best practice to start thinking about, well, what kind of reports are we going to want to run, and how do we want to tag the people in those subgroups? So creating the actual tag is very easy. So you'd go into your Northstar admin portal, and you'll see mine here in a second. And you are then going to go to, I just want to make sure I have some things closed. You're going to go to the learner tag, that's tab. So the tagging and adding learners is all under the learner tab. And as you look at my screen here, I haven't told you this, but just kind of looking at it, looking at this top part that I'm circling in red, where do you think you would go as a guest to add a new tag? And the keyword is tags. Where do you think you might click on?
Invite new learner.
That's a good guess, and that's where I'm going to create the learner, but we first want to create the tag. So the invite new learner will be our second step. So again,
tag.
yeah, manage tags, right? All right, so we're going to come up here under the blue navigation bar to manage tags, right there. And then you can see that there's a rectangle that says enter tag name. So I'm going to click in that and just type in whatever the tag is. Does anyone have a tag that they might want to use? I can make one up, but it's always more fun if you have one. All right, let's see. I will call this. All right, so here's my tag, grant 3. And then I just click on the green create a tag. And then you can see that it's been added over here on the right. It tells you it's been added. And then the tags are all alphabetical. So if I scroll down to the G's, I'm going to find grant 3 here. Now, let's say I misspelled it or something. I could always go to this pencil here and edit the name. And then over on the far right, you'll see there's a trash can. And let's say someone had already added grant 3 and I'm like, oh, this is the duplicate. I could just delete it. All the information in the middle, this copy, launch, URL, and all these numbers, you can ignore that. That was actually created for the state of Hawaii, and they're the only one that uses it. The other things, I guess, to know are that if you look across from Grant 2, you can see this file. And that means if you want to archive this, you can click on the file. And so it won't show up in the menus, but you'll still have the ability to run the sub-report on it. And then when you see that something's archived, like Google Docs, it has this little eye over on the far right. And that if you clicked on that, it would let you use it again in the menus, tag new people with it. But that data is still all there. So that's really all there is to adding tags. You're just gonna click in the enter tag name, write the name, click on the green create tag button. And then if you need to edit or delete it, you can, but that's how you create your tags. Very easy. So the next thing we want to talk about is adding learners to the Northstar Learner Management System. And the reason you would do this is because if you want to give people access to the practice lessons, the Northstar Online Learning Practice Lessons, you need to add them to the Learner Management System. They cannot access the practice lessons unless they've been added. Another reason to do it is that it ensures accurate reporting of the assessment progress. And the reason for that is when someone's added into the learner management system, they have to log in. They have to log in with an email and a password. So it's directly tied to their name. If you are letting people take assessments without logging in, it's possible. They just type in their first and last name. The what do I say? Detriment there is that, let's say someone's name is Elizabeth Fredrickson, and the first time they write Elizabeth Fredrickson and the second time they write Liz Fredrickson, Northstar is not going to know that's the same person. So it won't associate those assessments together. So you won't see that progress. Similarly, if you have, like here in Minnesota, we have many people of Somali descent who have the same name. So their first name and last name is Muhammad, but there are many people with that name. So then again, Northstar would think that was the same person rather than multiple people. So if you want accurate reporting, it's best to have people in the learner management system. Now, sometimes that's not possible. I don't know what you're doing for this grant. I'm guessing you're adding them, but sometimes, based on staffing or what it might be, you don't have capacity to do that. But that is, those are the reasons. And then that's what would let you create these sub-reports using tags as well. If you, for whatever reason, don't have the capacity to add learners or don't want to add learners to the learner management system, they can still take the assessments, just with that caveat. And they can also always take a class. You can always use the instructor-led curriculum to give a class without anyone being added to the learner management system. So adding learners is quite easy. And we're going to go again into our Northstar admin portal. And we're going to go back to that learner tab. So we're adding learners, tagging learners, all in the blue navigation bar under the learner tab. And again, as you look at my screen, without me, having told you, where do you think you would go to add a new learner? And we talked about this before, and the keywords being new learner. And this is what you said before.
Invite new learner.
Exactly. Invite new learner. So we're going to click on that in this green rectangle here. And then the only information you need to add someone to the learner management system is their first name, their last name, and an email address. Probably the people you're working with, maybe through the college, do already have an email address. If not, some people may not know how to use email. If not, you can always create a Google email for them. They don't have to know how to access it right away. It's more just how to log in. So that's easy to do. So I'm gonna make a fake name, and sometimes I do one that I already have done and it won't let me create it, but I'm gonna try and make up a name.
And Theresa, while you're doing that,
Mhm.
like if I have an instructor here, would she be considered a new learner or?
Oh, this is a good question. So she would be considered staff. So anyone that you want to be teaching using Northstar, be running reports from Northstar, adding learners into Northstar, they would be considered staff, and your Northstar admin person would have to add them.
Okay.
So this would technically be learners would be the people that you are teaching.
So the staff would be entering this information for their particular students,
Yes.
learners.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Great for the students. Mhm. So then if you want to add any tags to this student, you can. Where it says enter tag, you just click in that box. And then you don't have to scroll through the whole list because you can see mine is quite long. You can start just typing the letters and then it will come up for you. You can add as many tags as you want to the learner. So maybe they're on grant 3 and then you have a couple classes in that. This is the 9 a.m. class and it's in your community colleges versus somewhere else. So you can also then see, you can see that you can choose what language this person's primary language might be, English or Spanish in this case. So if you, whatever language you choose, that's what the email that they'll get, which I'll show you in a second, would be in that language. All the assessments for them would be in that language and all the practice lessons. They can always switch languages at any time. So if you know their language preference, you can set it here, but if you're unsure, it can always be changed. So then we're going to click the green invite learner. And again, if this email that I created is something that I already have done in another training, it won't let me, but yeah, it looks like I've used it before. But normally it would let you add the learner and then they would show up here on your learner list. And what it would look like when you first added them is like big brown here. So under status, instead of a green check, they would have this little yellow clock. And if you hover over it, it says that it's pending. So what that means is that the email address that you created, an email was sent to that address that looks like this. And if the person has the digital skills to access email and is able to, read this, they could go to this big blue bar and create a password for themselves, and then they'd be added as they finalize the learner addition process. If they don't know how to use email, if they can't access email, if the language here is too difficult to read, you can always create a password for them. So you don't have to worry about that. If they can't access this, you can manually create a password. And I'll show you this, but when you have that little yellow pending clock, to the right of the student's name, you'll see 4 boxes. And one will have a lightning bolt. So think lightning bolt activation. And that's what you'll click on to create the password. We all forget passwords. People who are new to digital literacy forget them even more frequently. So if you are going to make a password for someone, make sure to use something that's consistent so you remember when they invariably say to you, oh, I forgot my password. So it could be, first initial, last name, last 4 digits of your phone number. Some organizations use the same password for everyone. They just have different, emails, obviously. Some organizations will buy a little handheld label maker for $25 and put the username and password on there and stick it on the back of the students' phones underneath the phone case. Northstar is not a high security kind of thing, as long as it's a password that's not being used, for bank accounts or something. we at our schools just give out a slip of paper that has their username and their password on it, and then we keep track of that. We make a copy and keep track of that ourselves. So just knowing that if you create a password for someone, you'll probably be asked about it. Always helpful to remember it yourself. So what it would look like here is you can see under status, we have the yellow pending clock. And then over in the far right under actions, one of the options is the lightning bolt, the activation lightning bolt. If I click on that, it will ask me, do you want to activate a learner? And I'll say, okay. And then here I have already entered the first name, last name, and email. So I just enter where it says set new password. I just write in the password and then click on update. And then that person is able to access the Northstar practice lessons as long as you give them the email you used and the password, then they can log in. Any questions about that before I talk about how to add them in bulk? Okay. You can add learners in bulk. So if you have a new class or a new cohort and you want to add them all at once, you definitely can do that. We give you a spreadsheet, and one column is first name, one column is last name, one column is email. You cannot include tags on the spreadsheet, but I'll show you how to tag after the fact. And so you're going to find this also in the Northstar admin portal under the learner tab, learner tab. We use the word learner because many of the organizations we work with are not educational institutions, so they don't use student as their word. But basically, in your case, it's the students. And where we clicked on to invite a new learner in green with the one person, if I want to add a spreadsheet in bulk, I'm going to go next to it where it says import with the two people. And if I hover over it, it turns gray. Then I'm going to click on that. And then here in this big, huge blue rectangle, you'll see the CSV template words are in bold. And if I clicked on that, it would give me that spreadsheet. I would enter all of the information in, save it to my computer, and then choose the file and upload it. So when I did that, then all those learner accounts would be created at one time. The other thing that you can do is you can decide to allow your students to sign up themselves. And this is something that your Northstar administrator would have to basically turn on in the system. They think the default is that it's not on. They turn it on. And then anyone who had the digital skills could come to your website. And when they go to take an assessment, they get this question down at the bottom where it says, if you have a learner account, log in now. So that's where they would log in if they already did. But then you see I've circled in red, need a learner account, sign up as a learner. So they'd click there, they'd add their first name, last name, email, and password, and then they would be added as a learner. So if this is something that you think a lot of your students could do, you can allow for that. And then it will notify you too of those that have been recently added, so you can see, what students have done this themselves if you look at a date range. So let's say that people are adding themselves, or you've added some people in bulk, or maybe you thought of a new tag that you want to start tracking, on reports, and you hadn't thought of it initially. You can always add tags, and you can always add tags to people who are already in the system. And that is also pretty easy. So again, you have your list of learners under the learner tab in the blue navigation bar. So same place we've been. And you can see if I scroll down, I have like 12 pages of learners. That's a lot. And maybe I'm just looking for those, or that's a lot. And we'll look at how to, sorry, I got ahead of myself. We'll look at how to do the reporting on the sub tab or on the tags. But if you want to add some tags to people, like a new tag, or these people have been added in bulk and they don't have any tags, all you do is you click on the box on the far left, this clear white, I guess, box. And if you click in it, you'll see that on the right, it tells me how many people I've added. So I know that I have 5 people that I wanted to add this new tag to. You'll see over on the right, I could just deactivate these. So if I have people that I want to deactivate all at once, I can. But if I want to add this tag, I'm going to go to the green assign tags. It has my 5 people. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to tag them again with whatever tags I want. So I want to grant 3 tags, and if I want to add, I can add additional tags too. So maybe I want our advanced digital literacy class. Once I've chosen the tags I want, I'm going to click on assign tags, and then those people that oh, whoops, did I make a mistake? It should let me assign these tags. So let's see. Oh, then I'm going to click on apply. And then you'll see that all the people I checked now have the 2 tags that I've added. So again, a person can have as many tags as you want them to have, and then it's easy to add the tags after you've added the learners too. So why do we add the tags? It's to enable us to run these sub-reports. And so you can either run a report just on one tag, or you can do multiple tags. So maybe you want to know, maybe I as an instructor want to know who I teach several classes, and I want to know people who are both in my my email class and my Word class. I want to see only those people that are in both. I could run that report. But maybe I want to see people who are either in my email class or in my Word class. So that would be a bigger number of people, right? So we can run all those reports by using the filtering button. So when we go back to our learner tab in the admin portal, you can see in the middle of the screen, there's this green filter learners rectangle. And if I click on that, a couple of things I can filter on. I can look at just one person, type in their name. I can do the tags, which we'll talk about. I can also look at their status. So if I only want to see those learners that are currently active, I can just uncheck all the rest. Pending would be those that have, you know, if I only want to see who I sent a invite to who hasn't created a password yet, I could just look at pending if I wanted to. And then recently uploaded, this shows me all those that have recently been added, so I could check, you know, every week to see how many are being added if I wanted. I'm just going to look at active for now. If I want to search on a tag, I'm going to click in this box and I'm going to enter the name of the tag. And then I'm going to click on search. So if you remember, I had 12 pages of learners, kind of a lot. But if I click on that, it's going to give me only those learners who have that tag. So you can see that there's 5. So much more manageable for me to look at. And when and I'll show you kind of in this particular report what's going on, but then there's every report you can filter by tags. So assessments, overall statistics, you can use these tags. If I wanted to do that, if I wanted to look at who is in my classes and who is also in let's see, my classes and maybe at a community college, or let's just go with, they're also doing a intro to computer Spanish. These people have to be in both. I don't know if there is anyone. Then I would click on search and I would expect to see nobody, no, but it would be a much smaller group, right? To see if someone is in both. If I wanted to see if someone is in my class or in the Intro to Computer Spanish class, I'm going to click on this plus or other tags, enter the tag here. And then go on to search. Then I'll see, okay, these are the people that are either in my class or in that Introduction to Spanish Computers class. So that's how you can use the tagging. And this will show you quickly for the students you're working with, who has taken the assessments and passed them and who hasn't. So if I look here at anyone who has a hexagon around an icon, it means they passed the assessment. And then you can hover over it to see what assessment it is. If it's in gray, that means it was unproctored. And if it's in color, that means that it was proctored. And, you know, maybe I want to see all those people I'm working with. Let's see how they're all doing on Internet Basics. I can click on anyone's icon and it will quickly show me how people have done on the assessment and if they've done the practice lessons or not. So I can get a quick snapshot of how the students I'm working with are doing. Okay, any questions about that? Anything we've talked about?
Theresa, sorry. Let's go back up and when you were talking about the bulk. So
Yep.
when we are adding the tags on the spreadsheet, are we also adding, we can't add tags to the spreadsheet, but we're adding the learner's name, their email address, and is it the password also?
Nope, just the first name, last name, email address.
Okay.
Then those emails will be sent out and the students can create their own password. Or if you know that you need to create it for them, then you would have to go in individually and create it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions? All right, so at this point, I want all of those of you who do have access to your Northstar admin portal, I want you to practice. And I'm gonna have you create a tag, and it could be a real tag or fake. You can always deactivate it if it's fake. And then add a new learner. And again, the new learner can be a fake learner. You can see how we have some fake names here. That's a more real name. Well, this is all demo, so they're all fake, but so add a fake name like test case would be a good one. And you can then add that learner. So I want you to practice creating a tag, creating a new learner, and then adding a tag to that learner. The only thing you should not do is use your own email address for the fake learner, because that will confuse the system if you're already in there. So go ahead and do that. If you want me to show you how to do that again, let me know. But just as a quick refresher, to add the new tag, you're going to go to Manage Tags. And then to add the new learner, you're going to go to Invite New Learner. So let's take a few minutes. Please let me know if you encounter any difficulties, because this is the time to practice. Seems like people aren't having any questions. All right. Anyone have any questions about anything or how to do anything? Okay, let's go on then. All right, so the one last thing I want to show you kind of related to this topic is, again, I said that the main reason we want to add learners to, or students to the learner management system is because that's the way they have access to the practice lessons. You also, all of those of you who are entered as staff, also have access to those practice lessons. And I want to make sure that you know how you can see them, because you want to become familiar with them if you're going to have students using them, just so you can answer questions. And also you can use them for your own education. If you took the assessments and you have some gaps that you want to fill in before you start teaching, or just for your own professional development. So the easiest way to see your own practice lessons is if you're logged into your Northstar admin account. Over on the far right in the blue navigation bar, you see on the screen my name, and on your screen your name. And we're going to click on that drop down arrow. I'm going to move my Zoom picture. And then we're going to go to Northstar Online Learning. And so this will bring you to these practice lessons. And you'll get a question here. You won't get this first, you shouldn't get this first question because you should only be at one location. But if you're in two, you might get that question. You'll get the second question for sure, asking, are you physically at the Northstar location? The reason this question is asked is that for some programs, their grant funding depends, they count their hours. And so they want to know, is someone in the building, I'm already counting them there, or are they actually doing these practice lessons and spending time on them from home or from the library or wherever? So if to your program, it makes sense for you to know where the person is and to separate that out on a report, then you can keep this question. If you say, this is just an extra thing that our students have to answer, and we don't really care where they are, we just want to record the total hours, then your Northstar administrator could hide this question. But basically the student answers the question, or you would, and press save, and then you now are in your learner dashboard. So now this is my learner dashboard. I can do whatever I want to in here. And then if I want to go back to my admin portal, on the right-hand side, again, upper right-hand side, you see my name. And I go to that drop-down arrow and I go back to admin portal. And then yours should take you right to your landing page. Mine, I have to choose which one I want to go to, but it should go right back to this landing page. So that's how you kind of switch between the admin view and the learner dashboard view for yourself. All right, any questions about anything we've talked about? Why you do something, how you do it? All right, well, we are then going to switch and start talking about assessments and proctoring. So assessments are often used as a pretest to see what someone already knows and where there's an opportunity to learn more. And then you provide that relevant instruction, and then you give the same assessment as a post-test to see how much the person has learned. You also can use it if you're proctoring to certify achievements. You can use it yourself if you're going to be teaching to prepare yourself, the assessments to find out what you need to learn before you teach. And the other important thing you need to know about the assessments is that all of your organizations have a site-specific login. So that means you have a URL that's dedicated to your organization. You always want to use that when you're giving an assessment. You always want the students to go through that that URL so that it's tracked properly to your account. I have had have talked to people who have said, well, I had students taking all these assessments and they're not showing up in my admin portal. And the problem was they were just going through the free site and it wasn't being tracked. So you always want to make sure that you're going through your site-specific URL. So you need to know where to find that in order to make sure people are using it, right? You will find it on your landing page and where it is here. So again, if we go to our landing page and scroll down a bit. So again, I'm under the Northstar logo and where mine says demo. And if you scroll down a bit, you see under your info, it has a location pin in like a teal box. And then there are two bullet points. The second bullet point says bookmark the page it takes you to. So this is that site-specific URL. You can see that it's very long. You wouldn't really want a student typing it in. So it's helpful for you to bookmark it on all the computers that you are like in a computer lab, for example. You could put it on as a link on your website if you wanted to. You can always have people go to the Northstar website too and log in, but this is important for you to know. And when you click on it, what happens is, actually, I want to show you my slide, I think. What happens is you're going to see that it has the name of your organization. In this case, mine's demo, and your address. So you want to be sure that when someone's taking an assessment, they are seeing that. Then you can see there's a couple of options. They can either log in with a learner account, which is what we just created, and they would click on where it says log in with Northstar. They would enter that email and that password, and then choose whatever assessment they wanted to take. If they don't have a learner account, this is where they would enter their first name and last name kind of manually. And so it would still track their assessment by whatever name they put in there. So there's those two choices if they go through that site-specific URL. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to tell. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is you can also share that landing page. I'm sorry, that site-specific URL. You can share it via text or email or WhatsApp or over Zoom, however you might be interacting with students. So you can copy that link and send it to someone and they could click on it and access the assessments that way as well. You can also log in with a location pin, and that's what we saw in that teal colored box, that 4-digit code. And when you go to your landing page, you'll find that, and mine is going to show up here in a second, but mine happens to be the TEAC. That's for mine. You would have a different one on yours. Oops. So someone could go to the Northstar homepage, which is the digitalliteracy.assessment.org, or if they typed in Northstar digital literacy, if that site-specific URL, they didn't have it and they wanted to log in anyway, they could go to our homepage here, and then they're going to try an assessment now, and they're going to click on the green oval. And when they do, what they'll see is where you can see this red arrow. If you want to save your results to a Northstar location, enter its 4-digit PIN. So that's where I would enter that, that in my case, mine was TEAC, and yours are all different. And then click on go. And then it would show the name again of the organization and the address. So I would know that my results were going there. So there's 3 ways someone can log into to take an assessment. The last way is if the student is logging in to their learner dashboard and wants to take the assessment from there. So in order to log into their learner dashboard, they're going to go to the homepage or to the site-specific URL. And where I keep doing this, and I have a slide. where you can see in the black navigation bar or on the far right is this gray login oval. They would click on that. They would enter their username, their password. Then if they're a student, they go right to the learner dashboard. And from the learner dashboard, you can see that every topic has this box that says take assessment. So they would click on whatever box it was. It would show, once they clicked on it, it would show that they're at your location. That would be there. It would show that they're already logged in because they already logged into their learner management system, and they'd be ready to take the assessment. So just the important things for students to make sure when they're taking an assessment is that one, your location is showing up, your name of your location and the address, and that it shows that they're logged in if they've been added to the learner management system.
Now, Theresa, I see you have an email on yours, but I have a
Yep.
telephone number and I just tried to dial that number. Can that be changed?
Yes, so that's a great question. So that's something your Northstar administrator can do. They can decide what they want displayed there. So yeah, it would make more sense to have an email. I think you're right, than a phone number, unless someone, I guess, didn't know how to use email, maybe.
So how would I go in and change that? Because I just dialed the number and it's a long voicemail message.
Um, are you one of the Northstar administrators for your organization?
Yes.
Okay, so then you would go to, in the Northstar admin portal, let me go up there. You're gonna go to where it says info. And let me get there. Close some of these tabs, I think. So where it says info here in the blue navigation bar, and then if you go to edit location information and go to edit info, I believe that here where it says, you know, on mine it says edit demo, yours would say the name of yours. You can put the email here and not the phone number.
Okay.
And then that's what should show up. And then you just want to make sure that you save changes, because I have forgotten to do that in the past. So make the change and then do save changes, and that should change it. If not, we can ask, it's because it's not something I do all the time. We can ask my team too. All right, good question. So, okay, so there are the three ways that someone can log in, either through the site-specific URL as someone who's been added to the learner management system, or they could just type in their name. They can enter using your location PIN, and they can enter through the learner dashboard. But again, just always make sure you've got that name and address there, and that says they're logged in. If they have a learner account, I should say. So we're going to talk about proctoring. So now we know how to get someone to the assessments. But if we want to proctor, the reason we proctor is that if someone passes and it's proctored, we can give them a certificate, or you can give them a certificate. And it also, helps Northstar maintain assessment viability. You can do this in person or remotely quite easily, and I'll show you how to do both. So I'm going to back up. So when you are giving a Northstar assessment and thinking about, I don't know if you've heard of the digital equity, the three-legged stools in digital equity, but what are some really basic things you need to have if you're going to have someone come into your school and take a Northstar assessment? Really basic, knowing that it's a internet-based assessment. And some of you might be muted if you're. What do you think?
Yeah, she hears me. Okay. Just the basics. You need to be able to maybe hear and see and have your
Yeah.
faculties type. You know, so we need to be able to provide those things for the person.
Exactly. And what are you using to take the assessment?
And basic computer skills.
Exactly. And you need the computer, right? You need some kind of device to take it on. And you also need, because it's internet based, you would need,
Knowledge of the internet.
or at least it's a stable internet connection for them to use. I like your echo. It's very, very imposing. So yes, so you would have, wherever you're giving these assessments, you need to have some kind of device for people to take the assessment on, stable internet connection. You mentioned audio, and I highly recommend having headphones because there is audio in the Northstar assessments. So unless a person is in a room by themselves, it will be distracting to other people around them. So you'll have those things. Let's say the person's sitting right next to me. I'm going to proctor them. I'm going to help them log in by making sure they can get to that site-specific URL. I'm going to check their ID if I don't know them. So the reason we do this is just there are many training programs that require you to pass Northstar assessments. And you want to make sure that, and the reason for that is so that the person's going to be successful in the training program. So you just want to make sure that the person who says they're taking the assessment really is that person. We then have a testing code of conduct, and you'll find that in your resources section. And you're going to either read or provide that to the students. It's pretty basic, just, like be respectful, ask for any special accommodations before you start taking the assessment, don't eat or drink by the computer, kind of basic things. And then you're going to start the proctoring. And the way you start proctoring is you can activate it using what we call a proctor pin. The way you get a proctor pin is the Northstar administrator will have added you as a proctor. So when they go in to add you as staff, there's a little button they can also turn on so to make you a proctor. And you are then sent an email from Northstar that says, oh, and by the way, I saw that Charlotte, you got in. So that's great. Thanks for letting me know that to the admin portal. So you'll get an email from Northstar that says, you've been added as a proctor. Watch this video, which is, I think, 15 or 20 minutes that tells you how to do proctoring. And then you take a little quiz, a 3-question quiz, and then you get your alphanumeric proctor pin. Once you've gone through that process, your pin will be located again in your Northstar admin portal on the landing page. So, if it's been a while since you proctored and you don't remember what your pin is, you can always find it. I'm just closing a bunch of tabs. So we are now, so if we go to our landing page, again, where mine says demo, yours says the name of your college or program. If we scroll down, you'll see it says proctor pin and it's always in gold. And we hide it because we don't want, if you're like, say, sharing your screen and you're logging in, you don't want the students to see your proctor pin. So you do want to keep it private because you don't want a student entering your proctor pin when you're not really proctoring. If someone should get a hold of your proctor pin, we can always change it if it's compromised. But just to save yourself the hassle, you don't want to do that. You can also, once you are a proctor, find it under the assessment tab. So if you think proctoring, I'm proctoring assessments, you can find it here, again in yellow. And like I said, you don't want, even though I'm sharing mine with you, you don't want to share this with your students. So in order to add the proctor pin, I'm going to go to that site-specific URL that you've seen. And as you look at this screen, I can make it a little bigger. Without my telling you, where do you think you would add the proctor pin? And the keyword is pin. Where do you think I would click to add it?
Would it be
Validate computer via PIN.
Exactly, right? So I'm going to go to validate computer via PIN. Here, I'm going to enter my Proctor PIN, which I just copied from that other page, and then I'm going to click on authorize. Then you can see that before it said no Proctor was available. Now it says Proctor mode is on, and there's a green band here. So now this person is ready to be proctored. And you would then have them scroll down and then click on whatever assessment you wanted them to take. Before they start the assessment, you want to make sure that you're looking that they have no notes, or they're not using their phone, or someone's not helping them. And then you have them start the assessment. And when you're done, you always want to click on end proctor mode so that someone doesn't come along and take an assessment and it looks like they've been proctored when they haven't. So we just do end proctor mode and it's done. Now, if you are, let's say you are proctoring a whole class at one time, it's kind of not very economical to go around to every single person's desk and log in your Proctor PIN while all the students are waiting. And of course, if you're doing this remotely, you can't do that. So there is another way where you can proctor, the larger groups of people or remote. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. I first want you to think about, for remote proctoring, we talked about, for in-person proctoring, you need to have a device that people can use. You need to have internet connection. If you're doing remote proctoring, then the student needs to have the device and this stable internet. And you're going to talk through a video chat program. So whatever you use, Zoom, Skype, Teams, Google Meet, whatever it is, that's how you're going to first connect. They will also need to have a webcam so you can see them. And they'll have to be able to chat with you in some way, either over the microphone or through the chat box. If they do have a microphone, they're going to need to be able to mute it when they're taking the assessment. Otherwise, you're going to hear everything, which is fine if it's just the two of you. But if you have multiple people, on the screen, it's going to be distracting. So we do have a document that provides a checklist of what everything they would need that you could give to the students. You're also going to want to make sure they know how to contact you in case Zoom isn't working or they can't get in. I'm on Zoom all the time, and occasionally something happens and I can't get into a training, so I have to have a way to contact the person on the other side. You also want to make sure before you give the assessment that they're comfortable using your video platform. Assessments can be anxiety-provoking just in and of themselves. And if someone, in addition, doesn't know where the controls are or how to use your video conferencing platform, it's going to make it worse. So it's fine if you even spend the first 20 minutes just going over how to use the video conferencing platform. You're teaching digital skills, doing that. So take the time to do that before you start the assessment. So if you're doing this remotely or for a group, remotely, you're going to have them log into a video platform. For a group, you wouldn't have to, that you're in person. If it's remote, you're going to check their ID, they're going to hold it up to the screen. If there's multiple people on the remote proctoring screen, and you don't want everyone to see each other's IDs, what instructors usually do is they'll have a second instructor in a breakout room, and they'll send the students there one at a time to show that instructor their ID, if necessary. Now, you might have students enrolled in the program, you know who they are, so then you probably won't need the ID. You're going to read that Northstar testing code of conduct, and then you're going to help people log onto Northstar. The easiest way to do this is if you're in person in a group, hopefully all those devices have it on there already. But if you're doing this remotely, what I like to do, which we'll do now, is I just put that site-specific URL, I copy it and put it in the chat, and then people can click on it there. So what it would look like is, let's go back to here. well, let me put this in the chat. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Don't click on it quite yet. But so this is how I would share it with you if you're all, as you are, remote. And then we saw what happens when you will click on that link is you'll get again to, it says demo, you know that your information is coming to this location, and you'd see that proctor mode is off. So the way I like to then think about it is imagine that I'm in a computer lab, I'm the instructor, and the door is shut and locked, and you're all waiting outside to get in, waiting for me to open the door. And right now you see like, no, the door is shut. And on my end, I am in the Northstar admin portal. I am under assessments because I'm doing proctoring. And I'm going to go on the left-hand side, it's all about proctoring. I'm going to go to view current proctor session. And when I click on it, this is like me unlocking the door and saying, okay, I'm ready to start proctoring. So no one has come in the room yet, but it's unlocked and I'm ready. And on your end, you don't see anything different. So now I'm going to have you go ahead and click on that link I put in the chat. So you'll see what I'm seeing. And once you do that, then I'm going to have you, where it says proctor mode is off, I'm going to have you click join proctor mode. And then you should see a little spinning wheel and it says waiting for proctor response. On my end, what I see is, oh, I see people are waiting. So you're kind of like seeing that I unlocked the door and you're sort of shyly knocking like, hey, can we come in? So when I'm ready to say, yep, come on in, I see a list of names and it says, if you're not looking at my screen, it says status pending. And then I'm going to click on, excuse me, there's a green rectangle that says start proctoring next to each person's name. So I'm going to start doing that. And as I do that, on your end, you might have to refresh your screen, but you should see that it says proctor mode is on and there's that green banner. And so when you are working with a group of people or people remotely, you want to make sure that they all see that proctor mode is on and it's green. So you should all see that. And then once they do, if you're remote, you're gonna, have them show you with their camera that they're by themselves, or no one's helping them, they don't have any notes lying around. And then you're gonna have them again scroll down and start whatever assessment you want them to take. And then when you're done, for a group, when each person is done, again under action, I can click on stop proctoring and that will stop the proctoring. And you always want to do that again so that it's not accidentally left on and they could take another assessment. And then I will end it by going to the gold box that says end proctor mode. So that's all there is to proctoring. It's pretty straightforward. And, again, what I want you to really remember from this training is that it's easy, that you can do it remotely or in person. That you always want to make sure that the person sees the name of your organization and your address or your information, and that it says proctor mode is on. Then you're proctoring. You if you're doing this remotely, you can proctor. Northstar says you can proctor up to 10 people at a time, as long as you can see them all on the screen. So Zoom would let you. I think Teams, I think it's more like 5 or 6. But as long as you can see them all on the screen at the same time, you can proctor up to 10. And then if you're in person proctoring a group, you can proctor as many people as long as you can see all of their computers. So if you have a classroom with 12 computers and you can see all of them, you can proctor that many people. They can all also be doing different assessments. They don't have to be doing the same assessment at the same time. It's completely fine to have someone doing a completely, a different assessment than someone else. We went through a lot of kind of step-by-steps. I don't really expect that you're going to remember all those steps. And I want to just reassure you that in your admin portal, when we look at the resources, you'll see that there's a whole section dedicated to proctoring resources. In fact, there's several, just so you can find it easily, I think. And so you'll go through that training, but you can always refresh yourself. Any questions anyone has about the proctoring?
Go ahead. We do have a question.
Okay.
We see if they're not using Google to help them find an answer, if they're doing it remotely.
If they're doing it remotely, and you're going through Google.
Right, if they're opening a new tab and to a new screen. And
Mhm.
can you tell as the host that they switched out of the screen to get help?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you really can't, you're kind of trusting them. However, if people are taking basic computer, internet basics, they probably don't have the skills to do that.
Exactly.
You could, if you were just doing one-on-one remotely, you could have them share their screen with you so you could see what they're doing. And then you would be able to. So there is a little bit of you're right, there's a little bit of a
Little trust mode there.
trust. I mean, they could have notes written really small and that you never would see, I guess. We're hoping that people want to learn the skills, but I agree with you on that.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, so we proctor in hopes that someone's going to pass. Anyone remember what the passing score is? I think I saw Charlotte say 85. Yep. So when they pass and it's proctored, you can give them a certificate. And there are several places in Northstar to print these certificates. It's actually quite easy. I want to show you just one place that I always remember, because it's under the assessment tab, and I'm thinking, okay, that they took an assessment, they passed it, so I'm going to print out a certificate. So if we go to our assessment tab in the blue navigation bar there, we looked at the left-hand side, that was all about proctoring. The right-hand side is all then after they've taken the assessment. And you can see that you can look at assessment results. You can look at all of them, these different subgroups. When we get to the page, you can also filter it by tags and by date and by several things. And if you just want to look at one person's name, you can just type their name here in the box. And that's what I'm going to do. Click on search. And then you'll see on my screen on the far right, there's a column that says certificate. And you see how many of these are blank. But then if I keep going down, oh, here's one where I passed it and it was proctored. So then I, as a staff person, as a teacher, I would click on the certificate. It would come as a download, a PDF download, and it looks like this. So you can see it shows you the name of the student, the name of your organization, what they passed, the date they actually took the assessment, and then in the bottom left is the date you're printing the certificate, so it doesn't have to be on the same day. And then on the right bottom, that's the name of the proctor. And you can, print it out and have the proctor sign it, but if they're not around or something, you don't have to because their name is printed there. You can also send this as an email, as a PDF attachment in an email, assuming that the person knows how to open email and get a PDF. So that would depend on the person's digital skills at the time. Okay, any questions about any of that? All right, so I quickly want to show you where the instructor-led curriculum is, and we'll spend our next training a lot of time on looking at it. But just so you know where it is in case you want to peruse it before then. And to remind you that everything in Northstar is written at this grade 4 reading level. And if you use these tests, you know what these numbers mean. If you don't use them, it doesn't matter to you. But just to let you know that, there are many instructors that work with students who have a lower reading level. It just requires the instructor to, kind of scaffold down. So spend more time on the topic. You're gonna have to probably do more repetition. You might have to teach some vocabulary words around the digital vocabulary words. So I actually want to show you the curriculum first. And that is, again, if we look at our blue navigation bar, you can see curriculum is on there. And when I click on it, it has a couple things that I want to point out. So on the far right here, it says language and it's in English. If you want to teach in Spanish, you can change the language, and then all the curriculum lessons that have been translated to Spanish thus far will show up on your screen. So you don't have to translate it in your head, it's going to be written out there for you. Then above all the lessons, you see these 5 bullet points. And these are various guides and other resources around the curriculum that we'll look at more in depth the next time. But the curriculum lessons themselves are all here in these 3 boxes. So the essential computer skills, essential software skills, and using technology in daily life. And all of them pretty much look the same in that they start with a scope and sequence, which tells you all the standards that are in this topic and what lessons you can find each standard in. And then all the lessons are here as well. So we'll look at that more in depth, but feel free to, play around in there if you'd like. The last thing I want to show you are the resources. So on this blue navigation bar, if I go over kind of to the right, you'll see the word resources. So should you forget all the small things that I taught you, all the like step-by-step instructions, you can come here and find all those instructions. And you'll see this is a grid, a 3x3 grid. And on the left-hand side, the Northstar manual, this is a really comprehensive, this is where the first place I probably would go if I'm looking for something specific. And if you click on view manual, it is broken out into different parts. So it shows you, if you want just an overview of the admin portal, if you're thinking about doing anything regarding assessments, part 2, part 3 would be making these learner accounts and using NSOL, which are the practice lessons, Northstar Online Learning. Part 4 is kind of how to talk to people about those practice lessons. Part 5 is if you're a Northstar administrator, how to do a bunch of stuff there. Part 6 is about the instructor-led curriculum. Part 7 is just about your own account, how to change a password, for example. Part 8, we have a dictionary. Part 9, this is where you're going to find that test taker code of conduct. And then part 10 is all about reports. There are a lot of reports in Northstar. This tells you where they're located and what each report has. And should you, click on one of these, it's basically short sentences and screenshots, so really easy to follow, I find. Whoops. The other good places to start are next to it. You'll see the quick start guide. This is arranged by your what you do in Northstar. So if you are staff, that means anyone who has access to the Northstar admin portal, whether you're running reports, accessing the curriculum, adding learners, you're all considered staff. So this tells you some of the things you might want to do. The proctors, again, are the people who may be staff, but they're also proctoring. And then the last one is for administrators. So again, some of the tasks that you might want to do starting out. And then another good place to look are the FAQs, which is what it sounds like. But they're arranged in these different topics. So by assessment, curriculum, online learning, and then kind of tasks too. And a lot of this information is the same information in multiple places. So trying to make it easy for you to find. Some other things we have on here over on the far right, it says video tutorials. If you like learning through video, these are 1 to 3 minute videos that explain how to do things. And underneath that, the Northstar curriculum, this is the same as a curriculum tab. So you can click on either place to get to the curriculum. And in the middle, these proctoring assessments, here again is, let's say you went through the proctoring videos and then it was maybe a month and a half before you proctored and you kind of forgot. You could always watch the videos again. You can and this view details and manual will take you right to the place of how to do proctoring. On the bottom row, the Northstar Online Learning, there's a few videos on there that explain the learner dashboard, and then another one that explains the lessons themselves. They're written for students so that you can see how to talk to students about it. And then there's a teacher guide too, if you want to incorporate this into the other instruction that you're giving. If you're, let's say, teaching a class using the instructor-led curriculum, but you want to incorporate also the practice lessons, it gives you some ideas there. I'm going to skip over other resources for the moment. Create support ticket. This is how you access us. So if you have a question, if you can't figure out how to do something, or if something's not working, if you go there, it's really an email that goes to the whole team. And then whoever is first able and best able to respond will get back to you. Typically, it's not me because I'm usually presenting. So it's much better to go through this system because I can't really answer my email as quickly as I would like oftentimes. But if it has to come to me, definitely it will. Most of the time, my team members can answer it. And then other resources is what it sounds like, a kind of a hodgepodge. Again, we have that proctor training, same thing. Here you'll find all the standards. So if you want to see them all in one place, this is where you'd go. We have the code of conduct here again too. We also have a style guide. So if you want to put the Northstar logo on anything that you're doing, we give you the logos, you can use those. If you want to, you can use our color palette and font. You certainly don't have to. Here, we put all the resources for teaching, remotely and testing remotely kind of in one spot, if you're going to do that. External resources, these are free resources that we did not create, but they do align with our standards. And then here you do have some flyers, posters. They'd all have the Northstar logo and a picture and some words, and then a place for you to write in whatever you want, talking about classes you're offering or proctoring or whatever it is. We'll talk about the screeners next time in relation to how we talk to students about Northstar. But that is what I wanted to tell you today. Again, I know it's a lot of information. Don't worry if you don't remember all the steps. We just want to review Northstar in the Northstar admin portal, where it says, there is the Northstar logo and it says the name of your organization. That's your landing page that will have that URL on it, as well as some things some educational materials to get started, and your proctor pin if you're a proctor. The learner tab is where you add the tags, you create the tags, and add learners. The assessment tab is where you can do proctoring and where you can view assessment results. We didn't look at reports, but this is kind of those big picture reports. Curriculum is where you're going to find the instructor-led curriculum. Info is only for the Northstar admins. And then resources is where you're going to find all of your resources on how to do things. So we add learners so they can access the practice lessons to make our records cleaner. We add tags to do sub-reporting. We do proctoring to get certificates. Those are kind of our main big things of choices that you have. Thank you all for being on here and all your participation. When I see you next, we'll look at how to talk to learners about taking the assessments, how to use the curriculum, how to use the practice lessons in working with your students. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday and the rest of your week. Busy time of the year. So I hope you're able to enjoy the month. And I believe I will see you next week.
Thank you, Theresa.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.